Hello, and welcome everybody to this webinar where we're going to present CMDBuild Ready2Use 2.0, so the brand new release of CMDBuild Ready2Use. It's really nice to see many of you attending our webinars, which we try to hold regularly every month, or at least every time there's new features available either for CMDBuild Ready2Use, OpenMained, or even CMDBuild, just like the previous webinar. That was about the brand new CMDBuild 3.0, which CMDBuild Ready2Use 2.0 is based on. Okay, so let's get going. Today we will go together through a quick overview of CMDBuild Ready2Use. Then we will go on with the presentation of CMDBuild Ready2Use 2.0. So with the new features, I will describe them quickly before I will actually get my hands on the keyboard and the mouse and show you the demo of the new features live, so you can have a better understanding of them. But of course, I most likely won't cover all the doubts you may have, so feel very free to ask the questions that you have, and myself, and the Tecnoteca technical team will be more than happy to answer them all. All right, so well, CMDB Ready2Use. For those who are not very familiar with it, just a quick overview. So basically, CMDB Ready2Use is the latest product which we created, and it is basically a standard verticalization of CMD build specifically intended for the IT governance management. It is ready to be used in a production environment. Once you start using it, you're ready from scratch. From out of the box, you will find the database, you will find several workflows, you will find a ready to be used tool that may need some configuration according to your specific needs, but can be used again really out of the box. We created CMDB Ready2Use, listening for years and years of customers that were using CMDBuild for the IT asset management. So we collected all the information, all their needs, all their problems they had, and we tried to give them all an answer with CMDBuild Ready2Use. So this tool allows you to reuse the strong CMDBuild mechanism in order to provide a customized standard configuration. Of course, just as CMDBuild Ready2Use follows the ITIL best practices. The main features of CMDBuild Ready2Use are the configuration of hardware and software items. So you'll find a fully working pre-structured database with the typical client infrastructure are items, the physical and virtual servers, services, dependencies. But you can also find a self-service portal which lets you have access to the service catalog, for example, for reporting malfunctions, send requests, have a look at the news of the company, and many other things. I will show you in a few minutes when we will get to the demo. I will show you the self-service portal, which could be extremely useful for the non-technical users that you don't want them to have full access to the interface, although it is possible to strictly configure the roles, what someone cannot do, can view, can edit, cannot view, or cannot edit. But still, the classic interface might be at the first sight might be a little bit, I wouldn't say threatening, but maybe look unfriendly to those that are completely not technical, and for them there is the self-service portal, which way more user-friendly and easy to be used. Also, in CMDB Ready to Use, you will find again out of the box some workflows already configured, such as the incident management, the request fulfillment, the problem management, which is the brand new workflow we created, the change management, and the asset management. Also, on CMDB Ready to Use, you will find the connectors already synchronized and again ready to be used with the Active Directory for staff management, for OCS inventory for in doing the inventory of course, of physical computers, with VMware vCenters for the virtual servers, LLDP for the network discovery, Zabbix, which is quite new, network and application monitoring, and the brand new Amazon AWS. Again, for connecting CMDB Ready to Use with the virtual servers of Amazon AWS. Also, in CMDB Ready to Use, you will find reports, dashboards, views that are already configured and that can be used from the very beginning of your experience with CMDB Ready to Use. Don't forget that CMDB Ready to Use also comes with a mobile application, both for iOS and for Android. So you can have access to the tool also through this the mobile app, which can be downloaded from the market, both of iOS and Android, but it is not included in the open source license. So basically, the CMDB Ready to Use 2.0 version, as I was just saying a few minutes before, is based on the brand new CMDBuild, CMDBuild 3.0. The fact that CMDBuild 3.0, well, 3 is has a higher number than CMDB Ready to Use 2.0 is just because CMDBuild was born way before CMDB Ready to Use, and this is why we acquired that experience with using CMDBuild before. We needed to acquire this experience before actually starting thinking, creating, and releasing CMDB Ready to Use. So we are now at the 2.0 version, which is based on CMDBuild 3. We presented CMDBuild 3.3 just it was around a month ago in our previous webinar, which we uploaded on YouTube. So feel free to go and look for it for have a better overview of the new features of CMDBuild 3.0. Basically, CMDB Ready to Use 2.0 inherits in all the new features and the functionalities of CMDBuild 3, such as the new interface. Brand new interface which looks definitely more modern and user-friendly, new layouts, specific new user preferences, and it also comes with a new native workflow engine which does not which works just along with the Shark, but it is brand new, which we call Tecnoteca River. It also has advanced import and export functions, so you can easily import and export parts of the dataset. And this is something we showed during the previous webinar of CMDB, so go and look for it if you're really interested in this. And the so much requested multi-tenant capability. Now CMDB Ready to Use, it is a multi-tenant application. This is the control dashboard for the service desk operators. Basically, this is the first thing they see when they log in. Of course, if you want them to see this. And you have a very quick, in a glance, you get all the most important information for the service desk, for about the tickets, which ones are done, which ones need to be taken in charge, which others are going over the SLAs or are perfectly fulfilling the contract you have with your customer, of course. So this is something we definitely will see in a few minutes. Also, along with the dashboard, a new dashboard, we worked really hard about the SLA management for controlling the service desk tickets. Basically, now you can define new custom threshold that depend to the category and priority of the tickets, as well as those based on the service contracts of the requester. So these threshold can be based on custom calendars based on the contracts. Again, this is something that will be probably more clear when you will see it in a few minutes. But just for now, remember that these calendars can be really set to specific needs. So in case for a specific contract you are working on December the 25th, well, you can set the contract so the running time of the SLA will include, the working hours will include that day, even if it's a holiday, bank holiday day. So and again, if instead you get a contract where you're just supposed to work during 9 to 5 and excluding, of course, the weekends, then you can select this calendar. But it can be modified, could be from 8 to 6 or to whatever you need. The new view in the service dashboard, as I just told you, can show the tickets that are delayed, the one that are instead taken in charge. But you definitely have a better and a much quicker overview of your tickets situation in the company. There's a new workflow I talked about is the problem management. Okay, the problem management workflow was added to the IT processes to really complete the management of the service desk. The problem management workflow comes in help when you have a recurring incident, for example. So you have a specific asset that that causes several problems, and every time every time a problem is happen, then there is a related incident workflow. Well, in this case, the problem management workflow, as we will see in a few minutes, really comes in handy and lets you manage this recurring problem. Also, the problem management workflow is connected to the change management, and this includes the possibility to trigger a work order and assign it to a specific working team, and this will also allow to manage a database of known errors, and so also the information that you acquire during this workflow is not lost, but goes and feed a database of known errors. Also, we developed in the new CMDB Ready2Use a connection between the asset management workflow and the request fulfillment so that the asset management process can now automatically start from a specific service request, which of course could be made through the request fulfillment process. So these two processes can automatically exchange one to each other all the information that is required to complete a specific operation. You probably saw among the connectors that already come with CMDB Ready2Use the Amazon Web Services connector. That's because this is a brand new connector that we worked on. So this connector can retrieve information about the virtual servers that are installed on the Amazon Cloud Service, and also it can retrieve information about the networking of the VM of the virtual machines and their specific instance type. So the connector uses basically the REST AWS AC2 API to synchronize the Amazon Web Service information and CMDBuild Ready2Use data. Other major improvements that we did are related to the extension of the software catalog to the hardware part, in order again to request as many different needs of different companies as possible. We created a new QR code generator process, so now it's more easy to create the QR codes related to specific assets from the contextual menu. There are new views for the management of the licenses, and this is something, well, I can show you in a few minutes, as well as the new reports to check, for example, the daily distribution of incidents and request fulfillments. Okay, well, I think that this was about it for the quick overview of CMDBuild ready to use new features. I will now change seat, go to the other computer where I can get my hands on the keyboard and show you the live demo of CMDBuild Ready to Use 2.0. Okay, so I got my hands on the keyboard now and I can quickly log in just to show you some of the new features of CMDBuild Ready to Use. Okay, so let's start with the dashboard of the service desk. So this is a custom page that we created and that you can find in CMDBuild Ready to Use when you just start using. So no customization is necessary in order to view this specific page. Of course, the service desk is related to the IT processes that are workflows that are already included in CMDBuild Ready to Use, and these are the incident, request, change, and problem management workflow. The problem management workflow is brand new. We will see it in a few minutes, and I will explain you how it works and what it is for. Quite interesting to have a look at the dashboard here, where of course you can start the IT processes right from here. You can have a view of the tickets, which ones are, how many and are open, assigned to me, to my group, which ones for each category. So here is just a pie chart for having a quicker visualization of the tickets. You can also see which ones, now just for demo database, so we don't have many tickets open, but you can see here which ones are in time and which others are delayed. So, well, 50%. Of course, you can select the date from which date to which date you can view your tickets. Quite interesting also is the timer refresh. Here you don't have to manually refresh CMDBuild each time you want to see if there's new tickets, but you can select it according, of course, to the frequency of the tickets that come in to the tool. The tickets so can come in quite often, so you might want to select one for maybe 5 minutes. Of course, this delay can be customized according to your needs, or you don't need to have it so often, so you will just want to select 9 minutes automatic refresh. Here you got the tickets, they're open, and you might want to close some of them because some of just for tests are made just for test or by mistake, of course. And then you can close. Clicking here, you can close the resolve ticket. Okay, all right. So this is just a multi-selection which we enabled in the last CMDBuild, and of course CMDBuild Ready to Use inherited this feature from the last CMDBuild. You might see it just as refreshed now. You might want to know how the tickets are open. Well, they could be open in several ways. One of them is the self-service portal, which is this user interface here, which is not available in the as an open source with the open source license, but it is one of the add-ons that come with the subscription with us. So this is just a self-service portal, self-service, because the non-technical user can submit an incident or request a service or even ask a question, as well as read the last news and have a view at his recent request. in a very easy way without having to having access to the CMDBuild interface, which might look a bit too with too many information, with too much information just for a non-technical user, which necessarily does not need to operate with such a degree um, of detail into the tool. And so for this reason we might just want to give them access to the self-service portals for submitting an incident. Of course, then the service desk will team will have a look at the incidents that are created from the self-service portal or from whatever other source. Have a look at them in this new brand new dashboard. Okay, so we did talk a little bit about the service level agreement. We refurbished the whole SLA management. The major refurbishment we did was relating the SLAs to the calendar. So we just changed the way that the SLAs are calculated, matching each specific contract to a calendar. So if we go on service desk, so over service desk here, classification, configurations here, and we go on to calendar. Right here we will see the calendars that we created into CMDBuild. Of course, you can create as many as you wish, and here you will see that for this calendar here, you will see when if a specific date is a bank holiday, for example Easter, it will say that for this calendar, for this specific calendars, it will be closed. So the time slots will be never, of course, just for every other day of the week. It will be working time, so the time slot will be from 9 to 1 or whatever, from 2 to then from 2 to 6 p.m. or whatever. So for the specific calendar, so the SLA, which could be like, I don't know, 4 working hours, these working hours can only fall under these slots. So if the ticket is open on Friday at 5:59 p.m., the 4 working hours will start, of course, from the next Monday. Okay, if instead I would have selected here, for example, that every Christmas of every year, this is why here you will find the 4 Ys, because this means that every Christmas of every year, same with all the other days, is open. Then even if a ticket is submitting on the 25th of December and the time slot is the one defined by the contract, and in this case the ticket will have to be managed within that time slot. Okay, so in this case it's just a normal working week that we selected for this calendar here. Of course, if instead you have a contract, a specific contract that requires assisting the client 24/7, then of course you will change the calendar accordingly. Okay, so we for this demo we created just 2 SLAs, 2 different SLAs, which are related for this one here, which are related to a specific calendar. This one here, for example, has a threshold of 4 hours for the incident management, of course, and needs to be taken in charge. This could be even solved or whatever, but this one needs to be taken in charge within 4 hours from the ticket is open. So here I will see that it is related to all the information about the SLA and the related calendar. Of course, one single SLA can be related to many calendars, and of course, but of course you can create as many as you wish. There's no limit to that. Since we are here, let me show you the incident managements that are out of SLAs. This is a specific view that lets you see which ones of the incident management tickets that are open and that are out of SLAs. So this one here, you will see this one has been this was created on September the 13th. So we are way over the SLA, and you can even open the ticket from right here. Okay, so from here we can now talk about the problem management workflow. Of course, first let me remind you that if you got any questions, please feel very free to write them down in the chat box that you find in the webinar tool, and we will get to them, to all your questions at the very end of the webinar, but please feel free to write them during the webinar itself. So should any questions come up to your mind, well, just write them down now, so it will be easier also for us to answer to you. So the problem management workflow, this is a brand new workflow that is extremely helpful when there's recurrent incidents. So for instance, server that is recurrent problems, and then for this specific problem, for this specific issue, there's the problem management workflow. So the problem manager should go through all the incident management tickets that are open, and if he sees there are some that are recurrent, then a problem management workflow should be open. The problem management workflow lets the problem manager have a diagnosis of the problem based on the technical specialist that will give their opinions about what's happening with that specific IT asset, for example. And of course, these all is managed by a specific work order that goes from the problem manager to the technical team. And at the end of the workflow, of course there will be a solution, and which could even be a new workflow. So the change management workflow could be activated, could be started, could be triggered after the problem management workflow in case that specific broken IT item is needed of a repair. Okay, so let's go to this problem management. Of course, I just showed you that you can open it from the dashboard, from the service desk dashboard, or you can open it from here, or you can start it from here where you got all the other management, all the other workflows. Okay, so the incident, request, change, problem, and the IT process. So by clicking here, you start a new problem management workflow. So the requester in this case could be any Aaron Anderson, and for the short description, we will just say that the mail server has several issues. I can then link the problem to the specific asset. So let's say, for example, whatever this virtual server, whatever, just for the demo purpose. Okay, so, and then of course all the actors that will do their activity within the workflow will see that which configuration item was selected at first, and which one is the one having the issue. You can also link the workflow to a specific incident. Okay, so we'll just say that the hardware server is the category, then hardware server other. The next word will be the hardware specialist. The classification knows. Please have a look at the server. It will be a classification node. It could be also, of course, could be more precise, but in this case, it will just would be good for now. Okay, so then we'll just execute, and from here I will see that I'm having a notification of every step once it's accomplished and which step we are at this specific moment. So at this point, I'm changing my hat. Right now, I'm the analyst that just received the notification of the problem. So here the manager, here under the register, you see you will see popping up all the steps that we are doing in this workflow. So the analyst node, I'm the analyst, but I don't have enough information about the tool. It's not really my business, so I will just say that I need the opinion of the network specialist, because I'm a hardware specialist, and I will need the opinion of the network specialist. Of course, if I would skip the work orders, this means that I'm able to solve or to submit this to propose the solution by myself, or I can add a work order in case, just like we're now, I need the opinion of the network specialist. In this case, I will just need the opinion of one network specialist, so I will only need to add one work order. Okay, we'll go on to the next step. So the work order description is will be that we need opinion on the network related aspects, for example, and this will, of course, will go to the network specialist. Okay. Okay, so the analysis, or the network specialist can write how long it took to analyze the problem. The analysis is after analysis we found that a mouse bit the cable. So the diagnosis could be that the cable looks damaged. Of course, it's been bitten by the mouse, looks damaged. Okay, so now this is the analysis and diagnosis of the network specialist. Okay, so now the problem goes back to the problem manager, which has all the the analysis, the diagnosis, and all the everything that the other actors said during the process for performing for the solution. So the diagnosis, the final diagnosis of the problem manager is that after the feedbacks, all the problem is solved, and also because the diagnosis was already here. The cable looks damaged. Okay. So in this case, we can close the workflow, which comes to an end now. Analysis node. This is the final node. You can change the cable. The analysis action could be, so the solution was found. This workflow can be closed or the solution was not found, can be reclassified. So this means that the workflow will start over again and can perform another, can go through another path towards other specialists, for instance. Or you can, as I was saying at the beginning, it could go to a change management. It could trigger a change management in case there's an approval needed for changing a specific instance. In this case, changing the cable probably doesn't need an approval of anybody. So for this specific case, we'll just say that it's closed, or just change the cable. Is the node of the analysis. Okay, this is execute, and then the success as the outcome of the problem. There's no closer note, and then we can close it. We can close the workflow, the problem management. Yeah, extremely helpful again for those incidents that are recurring many times. Other interesting things that I would like to show you is in the asset inventory. Let's see, for example, for the notebooks. This is something I think I showed you already in the previous webinar, the one about CMDBuild, where you can enable the multi-selection. If you remember, just as we saw in the dashboard, you could multi-select several items, and in this case, quite interesting, you can select them and then print a QR code of that specific. Of course, you can then print a PDF or physically print it, whatever, for one or more than one items. Okay, so this is something new again. Then there's a new report which I want to show you, which might be quite interesting for you, and this is the report here and the incident management daily distribution. So in this case, which is whatever from September 2015 to whatever to the 4th September. This how many tickets are have been open and at what time. In this case, there's only one that is open in these time slots, so from 11 in the morning to 11:59 a.m., which is extremely interesting in case you got several tickets open to see at what time in a specific day, what time they are most likely to be open. So you can also allocate more resources, like human resources, probably at that specific time slot, or you can recalculate your offers or the contracts according to the SLA, keeping in mind the peak of the request for the tickets. Okay, then the last thing I want to show you, almost last thing, is about the new view that we created, is the software license summary, where you got the number of the serial number available, so how many licenses for this you have, and how many of them are available. So 2 are in use and 3 are available. Extremely interesting to see how many you have and which person these are associated to. For instance, all the relations and the associations between the people, between the items in the database, can be seen either in a relation graph or, for example, but before going to the relation graph, let me show you something. For example, here, this is the Tecnoteca building, but and these are just a few of the desktops that we have, and in extremely easy way we can create a thematism to immediately view with different colors different items or different status of these items. If you want to know how to do it, feel free to watch the last CMDBuild webinar where we went through it For now, you will just see the result. This is the thematism that we created, and which automatically puts in different colors, like in blue the desktops that are in use, in red the ones that are under maintenance, the ones available, in green of course the colors can be selecting according to your needs, just about as anything in CMDBuild. One last thing I wanted to talk about was about relations and about the relation graphs, which is not something brand new in this new Ready2Use 2.0 version, but this comes from the previous version of CMDBuild, but still is extremely interesting. So if we go, for example, on softwares and then like, let's see, applications, we can go back on the list, CMDBuild 3.1, and if I click on the relation graph right here, this branch of tree here, you click on the open the relation graph, and we see all the relations that are linked from level 1 with the application CMDBuild 3.1. If I want to add new levels, like go to level 5 for example, I will get a relation graph with just too much information that is of no particular use for me. What could I do is that I could create a filter, which we already did, and just selecting the architecture. This could be an extremely easy way performed through the administration module. Okay, so this will be still level 5, but I will have just the items that are relevant for the architecture. So I will have the Vincent CMDB 3.1, the application, which is of course linked to Tomcat, to the PostgreSQL, to the other servers, the physical virtual server, the of course LiveRay, and all the other accessory elements that work together for with CMDBuild for running the workflows, for the alfresco for the documents, and so on. So this is extremely useful when it comes to performing an impact analysis, of course. Okay, so I think this is about it for the new elements, for the new features of CMDBuild Ready2Use 2.0. I will now go back to my seat where I will be more than happy to answer all the questions that you may have, either about CMDB Ready2Use or about us in general, about the tool. Of course, if you'd like to do a step behind and have a more comprehensive and view of CMDB Ready2Use, and not just about the new features but about the philosophy behind, feel free to go and have a look at the previous webinars we held, where you absolutely will get all this information. Okay, so let me just change seat and go back to the previous one. Okay, so here I am back. I would just like to thank you very much for attending this webinar. It's always a pleasure for us to see many of you showing interest for our tools, and that's what really makes us try to work harder every day. Should you have any further question, please feel free to get in touch with us either through our social networks or through our websites. Just feel free to drop us an email, and the technical team or the commercial team here in Tecnoteca will be more than happy to answer all the doubts, questions, or comments you may have about OpenMaint, the other tool which we didn't talk about, but which we will present in a month, because the new version of OpenMaint is coming out as well. So feel free to attend that webinar as well. Do not forget to stay connected with us in order to get some more information also about OpenMaint, as well as CMDBuild and CMDB Ready2Use. So I thank you once again. It's always a pleasure. I wish you a very nice day. Ciao, ciao.